Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for letting us into your space today. Here at Christ Community, we have a lot going on in this new year, new season, and we want you to be a part of it. So head on over to our website at cccgreeley.org. Check out events and groups that you can be a part of in this new year. Also, if you're watching, be sure to like and subscribe. That way you know of all the new content coming into your feed. Same with if you're listening on the podcast today. We hope you enjoy today's message.
I don't think the thing I'm going to do today can be technically called a sermon. So just so you know, like that came up a couple times during the prayer. I was like, I don't know if I would call it a sermon. It's more of I'm inviting you into a journey that I've been on and hoping that you can join me and possibly going forward. And I'm so glad that I get to talk to you before January the 1st because a ton of things happen on January 1st. People don't care about 2024 at all. It's like, we are going forward. And I'm like, okay, great. I get to get something in before it's time to turn the corner. So thank you for being here. It's an honor. I'm excited to talk about something that I've been going through, and it began on December 26th of 2023. On December 26, 2023, I was driving around town, and I saw things that were very, very sad. I complicate everything. I overprocess, I overthink. And so on December 26th of 2023, I'm driving around town, and all of those people who have the big inflatable, like Santas and Frosties and Christmas trees and all of the, like 24 hours ago, these things were awesome. And they're on full display, and like people are embodying Christmas, and these big blow up things are like doing their things. And I'm all about Christmas. I love Christmas. But on December 26th, it's the opposite. They're all like in the people's front yards, right? And they're not blowing them up. Anyway, I overcomplicate things. So I'm driving around town, I'm seeing this pattern of these Santas that are just like bleh, and the Frosties that are just, and then I thought, I don't think that they ought to blow them up today. Like, Christmas is over. And so do you pick them up? And so I like pulled over and I started thinking, like, do you have an obligation to clean up these inflatables because Christmas is done and it looks super ugly and it's painting this picture of like hope is gone because Christmas is gone. And so I sent a text to a friend of mine. I was like, I don't know how to process this. What does it mean? What does it mean? Like, and then I started going around town taking pictures and sending them to her saying, they're everywhere and it makes me so sad. So today is inspired by that. So the fact that everything is up is inspired by that. Because I think there's a common feeling on December 26th and beyond that's just kind of like, huh. There's a kind of feeling that I typically have, that I think culture typically have, and I think you should have it. Because I want to invite you on a journey of the Christmas season. Our church has been doing a podcast called Journey to Epiphany, because Epiphany is the end of the Christmas season. Christmas Day is not the end of the Christmas season. And Christmas season begins in Advent. It doesn't begin in Christmas. And so I have a desire to talk about two questions during the Christmas season that I'm asked all the time. There's a question that's asked before Christmas, and there's a question that's asked after Christmas. The question that's asked before Christmas is, are you ready for Christmas? How do you answer that? I don't know. Like, what does it mean to be ready for Christmas? And then the question after Christmas is, did you have a good Christmas? How do you answer that? I don't know, it was terrible. I had a really bad Christmas. Oh, thanks a lot, you know? It's like, yeah, it's good, thanks, you know? But I overthink things and I overprocess things, and I want to get better at being able to actually answer, yes, I'm ready for Christmas, and here's why. And yes, I had an incredible Christmas, and here's why. Advent season helps us to answer, am I ready for Christmas? Everything about the Christmas season is a heart thing. It's not a practicum thing. It's a heart thing. Is your heart ready for Christmas? If someone asks me, are you ready for Christmas? The journey of Advent gives me a good indicator if I am or not. Furthermore, the question, did you have a good Christmas, is answered by Epiphany. A bunch of us don't even have the ability to answer that question and tell the truth because it just hasn't come to fruition yet. So on the church calendar, the Christmas season begins in Advent. It explores the themes of peace, love, hope, and joy, and our desire for it. And as you grow in the faith, you should grow in peace, love, hope, and joy, and your desire for it. It should be a cyclical thing and a depth thing. There should be this, I want more of it, or I'm depleted here, or it's an adventure of the heart saying, where am I hungry for the presence of God? So that brings us to a place of banging at the door of heaven saying, I'm ready for Christmas. On Christmas Day, that is the birth of Jesus, and the church celebrates the birth of Jesus. That's awesome. I remember in 2007, the day that my son was born. It was a hard time going up into it, but I was so excited for the day he was born. And the doctor said, it's kind of like playing football. You catch a football, and that's how, hands up. And the whole thing, and I wanted to participate, and we're doing it. And I thought, man, as soon as he comes out, this is it. And then the hard part's over. And, and then we got him out, it's like, oh my gosh. And all the people came to see us. I remember all the pastors at Christ Community were coming, and it was really cool. And I was like, man, this is my son. The day after I had to go home, and I was so scared. Here's the thing. In my head, I thought, as soon as the baby is born, that's it. I got the baby. The hard part is over. All of you who are parents know that's not exactly true. The baby being born is the beginning of a journey that changes everything. The identity that you have changes. The purpose that you have changes. Your priorities change. Your heart changes. It's weird. From that point on, everything is different. Christmas is the birth of the baby. That's not the point. It's something to celebrate. Bring your friends. Let's, have the hospital party and people pat you on the back. But from that point on, there is a journey that happens that your identity should change, your purpose should change, your heart should change, your priorities should change. What does this mean? Because when a baby is born into your family, it changes everything. And you have to ask, what does this mean? I am a totally different person since Zion was born in 2007. What did it mean when he was born? I had no idea. But the epiphanies that I'm having, so thankful. It has been an honor to be a father. Epiphany is how you answer the question, did you have a good Christmas? Because it means that you showed up. It means that you engaged it, that you asked the question, what does this mean? If Jesus, God himself, was born on the earth, heaven colliding into our planet, and you asked, what does this mean? What does this mean for my purpose? What does this mean for my faith? What does this mean for my heart? What does this mean for my control? What does this mean? Epiphany begs us to ask questions that are a lot better than, are you ready for Christmas? And did you have a good one? It says, do you know what this means? The symbol of Epiphany is the star that's typically on the center of the Advent experience. A lot of us don't get to Epiphany because we don't even know it exists. But this is the point of the entire Christmas season. It brings us here. The characters of the Christmas story who embody Epiphany are the three Magi from Persia. So they have been on a journey for years to find the king. The thing that's so cool about these three Magi from Persia are simply the fact that they expected him to come. Everyone else has been surprised, but these people had been on a pursuit. There is a desire to see the king, and they have been traveling for a very long time. I love the story of the Persian kings because there are a ton of us who are in a pursuit to see the face of God. It isn't to be surprised by him. That's happened. But there's a lot of us who's been in the church for a super long time that are like, I want to see your face. I am on pursuit. I have a desire. I want more of you. Where are you? And that's what these people are doing. They're crossing the deserts, following the star that brought them to the presence of the king. It's beautiful. I have a desire for us to almost go on that same pursuit. And by doing that, the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about certain characters from the Christmas story. Well, we're going to talk about them a bit, and then to see how they ask the question, what does this mean? All right. So our first people are going to be the shepherds. Our second will be Mary and Joseph. Our third is going to be the Persians, and then our fourth will be King Herod, just to paint this picture, because they all didn't end as soon as Jesus had been born. They all had a story afterwards also. And so it's going to be fun for us to explore that, all right? All right, so our first passage is here, and for every passage, if the whole congregation can say it, that would be incredible for me. All right, here we go. When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about. So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby, who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told to them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had heard and seen, which they had been told. All right, so at the beginning of the Christmas story, the angels appear to the shepherds in the hills of Bethlehem. And I love always drawing the tie to King David, who had been a shepherd on the hills of Bethlehem. There is kingship happening here. It's beautiful. And the angels appear and said that a baby has been born. It's the Messiah. Right? Okay, first off, simply, so the shepherds in the hills of Bethlehem did not have the theology that the church has today about the gospel of Jesus Christ and the conclusion of all things, okay? There only is the hope of the Messiah someday coming. That's it. They don't have a clue how it's going to end up. And so from the beginning, the angels are proclaiming God on earth, Emmanuel, God with us. And you have to think, they're asking, what does this mean? How's this going to play out? And they go and they pursue the baby, and sure enough, the angels had been telling the truth, and there is this baby, and Mary and Joseph, and then they get excited, and they go back to the hills of Bethlehem, and they tell everyone about the truth that the angels had said and who this baby was, right? The Messiah was born. The Messiah is born. The Messiah is born. Glory to God. Everyone asking, though, what does this mean? If the Messiah is actually born, and that there's been centuries that the Messiah was prophesied about, and no one got him yet, but they did. And they are out proclaiming as shepherds. Something that I think is so cool is they don't change who they are. They don't go to the holy cities. They don't go to different towns and start to evangelize. The thing that they do is they go back to Bethlehem. They go back to the places that they're from and the places that they had been on the hills, and they began sharing the good news simply that Jesus was born. There is not this pattern of them changing everything about who they are to then proclaim or become holy people or to be priests or prophets. They are shepherds who are empowered to proclaim the good news of the birth of Jesus to Bethlehem, the city of David. That's really cool. For me, it's all about this question of purpose. What does the birth of Jesus mean for my purpose? And the shepherds are probably asking this. If God was born on earth and I was the first to hear this, what does this mean for my purpose? And it seems that the shepherds kept shepherding. The shepherds kept tending to sheep. But in the tending of sheep and the shepherding process and doing what they did best, they proclaimed the truth of God. I have seen people who have encountered God in their vocation, their occupations, their passions, their hobbies, and their talents that seriously transform not the things that they do, but how they do what they do. I've seen businessmen who have been impacted by the gospel, who make business deals full of integrity. I know a guy who says, I've been inspired by God, so every deal I do is going to inspire hope in people. That's his test, is like, does it inspire hope? Does it bring inspiration? I have a friend who's a tattoo artist. He, in the past, was a bad dude. The gospel smacked him in the face, and he is the most incredible guy. Guess what he's doing today? He's a tattoo artist. But he has 2 to 4 hours per client, and he's sharing the gospel every time, and he's picking apart biblical facts, and he is one of the funnest people to talk to because he always tries to bring something that you have not heard yet. He'll always say, I've got something to talk to you about. And sometimes he brings things that I've never heard of before. Some of the sermons I've taught in here have been inspired by him. I know a doctor who his whole private practice is built on the principles of God and creating this habitat and environment for his employees and their families, that he feels like he's taking care of them and bringing gospel truths to those things. I've seen time and time again how the gospel has impacted purpose. I see parents who are falling apart, and really bad parents who have seen the face of Jesus, and Jesus was born into them, and it's changed their hearts and filled them with compassion and hope and inspiration and peace and joy. And they start parenting their kids as if their kids were the intent of the gospel. The inspiration of our purpose colliding into the presence of God and what he desires for us is boundless. Whatever you do can be inspired, breathed into like the embers of a fire. And when you breathe, it poofs up, right? The air and the oxygen, and it's so cool. I don't know how that happens. I'm always terrified I'm gonna blow it out, but I don't. It just gets bigger. And so there's this idea of, what does this mean for our purpose. Epiphany begs you to ask, if Jesus was truly born, what does this mean for my purpose? Okay, our second people we're talking about are the people of Mary and Joseph. Here's the passage. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and he left for Egypt, where he stayed until death of Herod. And so was fulfilled the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I had called my son." It seems that for the father who thinks the biggest obstacle of being a father is the birth of his child, this passage proves that to be false, right? The baby is born and the whole celebration happens, and then an angel comes to him and says, the king is going to kill him if he finds him, so get out of here and go to Egypt. And so Joseph follows this dream and gathers his family up, and they go on a journey again out of the holy country. So this is important because it begs us to ask the question, what does this mean for our faith? So just going back just a bit, think about the faith of Joseph and Mary. Just a little bit. I'm just gonna bring us down from an up here perspective about like, oh, this was incredible, down to here. There's a teenage girl who is a part of a Jewish culture that if you are found pregnant out of being married, the people will kill you, okay? That is an offense against the temple, against God, against your body, and you are going to die. So teenage girl has an angel come to her, and the angel Gabriel appears to her and says, "You are pregnant, and it's God's baby. He's gonna be awesome. And here's the thing that you're gonna call him." All right, I'm out. Okay, if I'm a teenage girl and I just find that I'm pregnant and it's God's baby, how do I tell people that? And if everyone I tell, do you know what I mean? Like, is anyone gonna believe you? If someone came to you today and said, "I'm pregnant, it's God's baby. The Holy Spirit conceived in me." Probably not. Probably not. And then furthermore, she is betrothed to be married. She has a husband that it hasn't quite happened yet. And she has to tell him. And an angel appears to him and the whole thing. And then like, how do they as a couple tell their families and how it's just like, man, come on. This is crazy. It's awesome in a biblical context. It's awesome at the beginning of the Christmas story context. God's amazing. He picked a virgin to bear his child. But from an actual Hebrew human context, yikes. If she was truly pregnant with God's baby, what does that mean for her faith? What does it mean? And you have to think, Mary and Joseph asked that question, what does this mean? If this is really true, that I was chosen by God to bear his child to bring hope, love, peace, and joy to the earth, what does this mean? The faith of Mary and Joseph are incredible. Because from that point on, hardship abounded. And then you have to ask, like, Mary and Joseph parented God. How do you parent God? Talking about bad parents, right? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you parent God? They brought him up. What does that mean? by faith alone. And faith is a gift given by God. It's not something you can achieve or acquire or to gain or to fight. It is a gift from God. And praise God that it is, that he gave them this abundance of faith to go on the journey that they had been on. Here's the thing, our journey is very, 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 very similar. Our journey is very similar. The idea of the Holy Spirit being inside of us, the presence of Jesus himself, the idea of it growing inside of us, poetic pregnancy, the idea that it isn't for you, the idea that you are here to pour it out, to share love, peace, hope, and joy, and spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ and being his body and his hands and his feet and his voice, and you are his body. What does it mean? What does the birth of Jesus Christ mean for our faith? And for Mary and Joseph, it seemed that it was really hard because there hadn't just been this outpouring of okay, this is all going to be easy now. The journey of Mary was terrible. You got to think about the journey of Mary from beginning until the end. Yikes. Man, but her faith, I want that faith. What does the birth of Jesus mean for our faith? What does it mean? All right. Our third characters are the Persian kings. Here's their story. After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star that they had seen as it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On the coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. All right, this is a very short segment of a super long journey of the Persians. During the time of the prophet Daniel, there was a prophecy that was born in Persia about the coming of the king, the healing of the earth, the places where scars collide, all these really cool things. You have to think centuries ago. And from that time of Daniel, this prophecy grew and grew and grew, and hope abounded and abounded and abounded, and the Persians kept their eye on the stars. And so they believed, according to Daniel, that the stars are going to tell us about the birth of the King of the Jews. And it did. There was a star in the sky that they had not seen before, and they gathered their caravans and they began on a journey. Some people say were 4 years long. They were on a pursuit because they knew that God always tells the truth. And so they followed a star until it brought them to the house of Mary and Joseph. I don't want to get into the timing of things, but Jesus was a bit older by that time. And so these people who have been on a pursuit, who have been trying to find, and they found the thing that they expected. They were not surprised. There's a ton of us who know that the presence of God is here, that his kingdom abounds, and we have a profound desire to see his face. For us, the story of these people should be inspiring. They kept their eyes to the heavens for centuries and then began on an epic quest to go find him after all the signs aligned. That's beautiful. And so they came, and these people bear centuries of prophecy. They bear centuries of theology. They bear the Persian Empire behind them. They're like a big deal. And they come to the house of these two poor Hebrew people, and they bring treasures and they place them before Jesus. And the treasures they bring are gold, frankincense, and myrrh. There's a ton of content on why they picked those things according to how the stars came together. Go home, pull that up, figure it out. It's really fun. Okay, but they were not surprised. They knew exactly who Jesus was going to be and what he was going to do. They brought this gift of gold that proclaims, "You are the king." And then they brought this gift of frankincense that says, "You are holy and are a high priest." And then they brought a gift of myrrh that says, "You are going to die." Right? It's this idea of you pour it on a dead body. And the Persians are those types of people, right? We were going to paint you the whole picture here. You are king, you are priest, you are sacrifice. The question I have is, what did they do after going home? They presented these gifts, then what? What did it mean for them? Because they truly got to offer their heart, that they had fulfilled they did the thing that for centuries the people before them did not, that they carried on their shoulders. And they offered on behalf of the empire, "You are king, you are priest, you are sacrifice." So from that, I have to ask, what does the understanding that Jesus is the Messiah do to our heart? What does it mean for our heart? Epiphany asks you, what does the birth of Jesus mean for your heart? So we have our purpose, our faith, and then our heart. So the fourth character in the Christmas story I want to bring up is King Herod. He's awesome. Here's his paragraph. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophets has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people, Israel." All right, so Herod is the king of the Jews. He is afraid of the birth of Jesus. In fact, he calls Jesus the Messiah. So when he's talking to his counselors, he says, "Where is the Messiah to be born?" King Herod is calling Jesus the Messiah. It's like he fully knows. I think out of the shepherds, out of the Persian kings, out of Mary and Joseph, King Herod was the first to ask, "What does this mean?" Right? Like, he's a pro. He thinks about everything. And he's thinking about his kingdom, he's thinking about himself, he's thinking about what he built, he's thinking about his control, he's thinking about his power, he's thinking about those who come after him, and then he sees the Messiah is born during his time. What does this mean? It means a lot of things from his perspective, to the point that he would offer an edict to go kill every baby that was born during a certain time period. He was afraid because he knew that if Jesus were actually alive, it would change everything for him. He knew it. He is a perfect character for us to ask us about ourselves. Because there's a big King Herod inside of who I am. He's awesome. He's very powerful. That he is constantly asking, what does this mean? If I pass control over to God, what does this mean? If I give my future over, what does this mean? If I give my purpose over, what does this mean? If I give my faith over, what does this mean? If I give my heart over, what does this mean? And sometimes I try to pretend that I don't know that the Messiah was born in my hometown. Sometimes I try to pretend that I'm not afraid of the truth, that it means everything will be different. Sometimes some of us are parents who pretend the baby is born, but we don't have to ever father it, because what it means is just a party in the beginning. There's a big King Herod that says, I will give just a tiny bit, but everything else I'm keeping to myself. King Herod is afraid. King Herod enjoys control. King Herod enjoys clinging to power. And King Herod is everything about my heart that I love and I try to protect. It brings me to a point that I would want to conquer anything and blow up hillsides and go and just to protect control, power, and the things that I have built. King Herod and Epiphany ask you, what does the birth of Jesus mean for your power, your control, and your future? See, the Christmas story brings us to a really great place. It brings us to Epiphany that says, what does the birth of God here on earth in human flesh mean for your purpose? What does it mean for your faith? What does it mean for your heart? And what does it mean for your control? And then it asks, oh, did you have a good Christmas? So in this is a gift, because I hope you don't have any answers to any of it. Because the journey of Epiphany brings us to turn the corner into this discipleship process. Okay, like it truly does. It brings us into this discipleship process of following Jesus and asking him, what does this mean? Because I don't think any of us have the answer. It is fun to go to church on Christmas Eve and Easter. He is born and then he dies, right? We celebrate his birth and then we celebrate his death and resurrection. But there is 33 years of God himself giving sermons. 33 years of him bringing healing, 33 years of him proclaiming the gospel, 33 years of God walking on earth, and he invites us to come along in the in-between. All of that, he's saying, I will teach you what it means. Epiphany says, you think you had all the answers, but you don't. What does it mean? And I hope every Christmas season, it brings us back here because our depth in him and our desire for him grows deeper and deeper, bringing us into a place of the desire for love, hope, peace, and joy, proclaiming the birth of Jesus, bringing us to a place of epiphany and celebration of the desire to see his face and a search after him. So, in our upcoming times of songs and singing, I'm going to give you the invitation to come forward for each topic. So for instance, our first song is going to be sung, and then I will say, if you have a desire for someone to pray over your heart of purpose. Are you someone who has not found clarity in your purpose or your calling, or come forward? And then there are going to be people up here who are going to pray specifically on the topic of purpose. Then after that, then I will invite you to come forward about the topic of faith and praying for faith. Then the third song, I will invite you to come forward and praying for your heart and the gifts and the treasures and the things that you hold close. And then after that, we're going to do communion. All of these things hold hands and go together. And this is the final thing that our church is going to do in 2024, is go out the doors taking communion asking, what does this mean? Okay? All right. Lord, thank you for the spaces that you bring us into. Thank you for your heart for us. Thank you for Advent and the journey of desire. Thank you for Christmas and celebrating the birth of the King. And thank you for Epiphany that is fueled by questions. God, a bunch of us are asking questions for the first time. So thank you for your grace in our hearts. Thank you for your grace that surrounds us in this context. God, I pray for all the places that our family comes from the hard places, the broken places, the happy places, the joyful, inspired, the people that are hurting, the people that are hopeful, the people that are afraid, those that are confident. Thank you that we're all here and we find ourselves in this place, but asking the same question: what does it mean?
Well, friends, wherever you're at coming out of this message today, we want you to know you are not alone, and we would love to connect with you. You can leave a comment below, or you can go over to our website. We have a chat button on there. There are people, pastors behind that little button you click, and we'd love to pray with you, talk with you, and kind of just journey alongside you. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you next weekend.